guys, welcome back to KB and JD podcast.
Today we're talking about mental health. So
We're going to start off with mental health in relationships. I feel like a lot of people don't really focus on that a lot, like how a relationship can affect your mental health, but on top of that, like what it looks like to have mental health issues in a relationship. So, I just like with being in a relationship, it really comes down to like, does your partner accept and acknowledge your mental health, you know?
yeah,
But
I feel like in a relationship, if let's say you like, first of all, you have to introduce what you have. Like
yeah,
you can't expect somebody to know that. And when you do, I feel like that person should not like bring it up in arguments or gaslight you and stuff like that. But I also feel like it's important that you yourself acknowledge those things first, because if you don't acknowledge them, then it's just like,
yeah,
if you know you got something going on, you can't expect someone to, like, you know what I mean,
yeah,
acknowledge it if you're not even really taking care of it or trying to help yourself.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I feel like that's the
I
first
feel
part.
like a lot of people will like when they're in a relationship, knowing that their partner does struggle with their mental health, like one they do like bring it up in like arguments and stuff like that, but also making sure that you are having the conversations about it.
Oh yeah.
Like asking your partner, "Hey, are you okay?" I
Yeah.
mean, you know they're struggling. That's why I mean like acknowledging it.
Yeah.
Like don't just pretend like it's not there, because
Yeah.
it is. So it's you have to acknowledge it and accept it for what it is and help them. So, and that was my next point, was having conversation about it, bringing it up.
You have to.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're never going to know. And then it's like,
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people try to hide it because they're almost like embarrassed of it.
Yeah.
But
I feel
there's
like
no
it's
reason
just
to be.
that also just goes with the stigma of mental health and like people being embarrassed because it's like weak.
Yeah.
So it's like, why
Yeah.
would you want to bring that
Right.
up? So I think, yeah, it's important to have those conversations, and also just like, if you see something going on with your partner, you know,
Yeah.
make sure they're okay. Bring it up.
Yeah.
Like, don't just
Yeah.
brush it
And then
under
on
the
top
rug.
of that, like a lot of people are in relationships where the other person doesn't improve their mental health.
Exactly what I was saying. You have to work
You
on yourself.
But
Yeah.
like the other person, your partner, do they positively or negatively impact?
Oh yeah, do
your
they make it
mental health?
worse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or do they just not, like that other person should be improving it. They should make you feel better and help you do better in general. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people just like look past that when they are like looking for a partner. But
because I think we talked about this before. When you're in a relationship, you should not be feeling like,
yeah, we did,
you're
like depressed.
Yeah, that's
and
not
sad.
okay. Yeah. Or like you feel like your things you're already dealing with are like increased when you're with them. That's not how it should work.
Or ignoring the signs.
Yeah.
It just is so toxic. So
yeah.
But and then it goes, and I feel like right now it's like, I'm sure the people like listening are like, oh well, they're talking about girls with mental health, but guys have mental health issues too. Guys struggle with mental health a lot too.
Yeah.
And girls really disregard when men,
especially that. I feel like that might be even more so. Like,
yeah,
girls definitely like kind
like,
of
oh,
man
why is he
up,
acting like that?
man up,
Yeah,
type. You know, like, okay, well, at some point, like, you have to ask if they're okay. You can't just man up every situation. Like, if you see someone struggling, you're not supposed to man up. Like, and I feel like that's what society has taught us, and that's what fathers have taught their sons. So then their sons don't want to talk about that, and it's just like it's a big snowball.
It's like the tradition of it, which is so outdated.
Yeah,
like men
completely.
It's just like men are always taught, be strong, don't show emotion, this and that, but everybody goes through it. And like society completely disregards the fact that men can even have mental health issues and struggle with their mental health. And like a lot of times when you think of it, like you think of women, but so many men actually struggle with their mental health. I mean, I'm sure it's like 1 in 3 men, or every man you know. So
yeah,
And a lot of them don't do anything about it because they feel like they'll be embarrassed or they'll get made fun of, or like they're weak. They're
and
not
then especially
strong.
like Black men, because I think I read something about how like a certain percentage of Black people in general, but especially Black men, have some like type of PTSD just from having to see the media, like, and seeing what happens to someone who looks exactly like them. So it's like Black men have like an all-time high, like, and so we're not checking on them,
right?
Like,
right.
I don't know,
but they're also seen as like the strongest.
Yeah,
but that's just what everybody else thinks. But that doesn't mean they actually are. I mean, they're still going through stuff. Like, I don't think people really like realize that. Just the numbers are way higher than what people think,
and like way higher than they should be. Because I feel like if we were actually like talking about these things, like talking about it with your brothers, your sons, we wouldn't have like this high number. It's just like it's a cycle. So,
and then it just keeps going, because it's like if you have kids, then your kids are gonna have, you know, they're gonna take after what you are struggling with. I mean, it's just the generational snowfall. Like it just keeps going, and then we're all screwed at that point.
We gotta break the cycle at some point, because I would not teach my son that. We're not gonna man up.
I feel like we should really I feel like society really needs to push therapy more onto men, because like even now, like if you say like, oh, I'm in therapy, I go to therapy,
what's wrong with you?
Like, right? They think
are you crazy? That's the first thing people say. Are you crazy?
Right. Or they think it's a bad thing. Like it's not bad.
No. Like, and you don't have to. A lot of people think you have to go to therapy or counseling because you went through something super traumatic, and no. Literally just go to work on yourself. It's like anything else. You go to yoga, you go work out. It's literally just to help you like improve yourself. So I think that's another thing. People always think you have to go if you've been through you just are, you know, but that's not what it is. It's like,
and then on top of that, there's so many different kinds of therapies that you can go to. Family therapy, marriage counseling, therapy for yourself. You can go to therapy with another person. Like there's
so many options.
Online therapy,
but people don't talk about it.
Therapy, no,
because people are also embarrassed that they go to therapy. So it's like, again, the snowball, like the snowball,
like, it has to be cut off somewhere. Like, there needs to be like a realization by everybody, like this isn't something to just disregard. Like this is like real life, like it's happening. Especially, and I feel like especially now, within the past couple of years, I mean, I know the rates have increased of people going to therapy, but also people struggling with their mental health, because I mean, COVID started it really. I mean, that's like, I know so many people where they're like, oh, COVID was a start for me. Like, that's where I got my anxiety. That's where I got this. That's where I got that. And they also started therapy, but it's just like the numbers aren't, it's not evening out. And it should be. I mean, and then on top of COVID, you have all of this stuff, especially for Black people. I mean, George Floyd, right? Like, and all of these different things, like that does affect people. And I don't think they realize how much that really does affect us.
That's what I was gonna say. I think it's really like hard for Black people to see those things, and I don't think it's something that we should have to see. I don't understand why those videos are just posted and we don't get a warning, because I don't want to see those things. And I'm sorry, but that's not good for my mental health to see those things. Like, that's not good. I don't want to see it. So I don't understand why the media like pushes it so hard to where it's like, I have to, like, if I hear about something happening, like, I literally have to just stay off of, it's really Twitter and Instagram for like 2 or 3 days to avoid seeing it, because people will post it on
especially
their story.
Twitter, because Twitter has like no filter whatsoever. Like, Instagram at least will like have like a like, warning. Do you want to view this? But Twitter, like, no,
you don't get a warning, you just see it. And I feel like it's just so bad. Like,
I feel like that has a lot to do with the media being predominantly white.
They don't,
but that's a whole nother topic and a whole nother story that it's just, I can't even get into right now. But yeah, it's just
concerning.
Society, I feel like society just hasn't really like pinpointed and accepted mental health as like a real issue.
No,
at all. And like, also, some people like some like organizations and schools and like some people do kind of like highlight it, but not like enough.
Yeah, and then I don't like how people almost use it as a
crutch.
No, not even that. It's more like people don't really like, some people will post about mental health and stuff and then they don't like actually like care. Like right. I know a few people like that, and I feel like some companies also push mental health stuff to make money, and then it's not like
that's what
they
I'm saying.
Actually care.
Like they like throw it out there, but they don't actually like give into it. But no, like me personally, I'm a very big advocate for like mental health. I wouldn't. I always say like, oh, like I don't really struggle like that bad, but like especially this past year, I really realized like I do actually struggle with my mental health sometimes, and like mine might not be as bad as the next person's, but I do, and so like I'm a very big advocate for that. But I'm not over here like I don't go to therapy and stuff. I mean, I'm trying to, but it's just like at the same time, like it just now took me until like this past year to really realize like you're going through it. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, so much stuff happened over the past year, but like even like with soccer season, all of that, that was when it really like hit me. I was like, wow, I'm actually struggling, because there was nights where I'm just like sitting there like just thinking, like I'm just in my mind like, what is wrong with me? And that like people don't I think a lot of people like kind of downplay like what they have going on and because don't realize that it
goes into the weak thing. You don't want to feel weak. That's the thing, especially athletes. You don't want to feel weak.
But also I feel like my point is like mental health has been so like pinpointed as depression, anxiety, like those, that there's big other three. Like there's like other things that people are still struggling with, and they don't like realize like, oh, I'm struggling. So I mean, for me, like, I mean, I haven't been diagnosed with anything, but I do like realize, oh, I'm struggling right now. And like, I have to like tell myself like, that does matter. Like you do need to acknowledge that. So I just feel like a lot of people, like if it's not thrown into one of those big categories, they don't acknowledge it as mental health.
And it's hard to recognize it when you don't know. And there's not a lot of like education. Like you really have to go find it. And so it's like you don't really know what you're going through. You're just like, oh, I feel weird, but I don't know what it is. So then you just brush it under the rug.
Right. I'd be like, oh, maybe I just miss my family. Maybe I just am homesick. Maybe I just need to go home. Like
maybe I'm just a little sad today. And then it's like the next day, and you're like,
maybe. But and that's the thing is like there's not enough education going on in the schools about mental health. I feel like schools lack the resources.
They stick that sticker on the back of your ID, and that's
right.
That is that.
Like, Texas doing that was so like crazy to me. I was just like, okay, like what is that supposed to do?
Like you stick a sticker, but you don't.
I'm sorry. Somebody's sad sitting in the room at 1 o'clock in the morning, and they're just gonna pull out their school ID and look at the back. Like no, like do more. That's not educating people on mental health. Like that's not enough. But even like here at college, like they give us mental health days. Like they'll give us like 1 day off, right? But then your teachers are still assigning you assignments on those days. Like, that's not what the point of the day is. Like, I shouldn't still have to be stressing about this stuff if it's a mental health day. If you're giving me this day to just relax and get rid of the stress, then, like, I shouldn't have to be worrying about all of that.
Yeah. And then I just feel like, I don't know if it was just my school district, but they did not take, like, mental health seriously at all. Like,
I don't think any school really does. I really don't.
And it was honestly so embarrassing.
They're like, oh, go to the counselor. But then they don't do it. And then you tell the counselor something,
they don't say anything.
And they call CPS. They call the cops. They say they do this, they do that. Like, I'm coming to you to confide in you about what I'm going through, and then you're just
that's another thing with school counselors. I'm not really sure what maybe that's for sure what they're trained to do, but it's like we're not told that. So we're told you can go talk to them, and then they go tell somebody else, but that's not what I thought was happening. Like, and not to say that happened to me, because I never talked to a school counselor because I knew like that just wasn't gonna help anything. And I'm not saying that was my school district in my specific school. I'm not saying that talking to a school counselor couldn't help somebody else, because it definitely could. But for me, I knew I knew no. But that's discouraging for someone to know that they're just gonna go talk to someone else, call your parents. I've literally heard of counselors calling someone's parents. There's a reason they did not tell their parents.
Right.
Like,
right.
I don't
know. Or they tell your teacher. Like, you could go and like complain about how like you're really stressed in this class and this teacher and this and that. They offer you tutoring and then tell your teacher exactly what you say. Like, that's not helping anybody. That's Lord. Not helping. And then if you have something going on at home, like I said, they call CPS. They tell your parents. Like, that's not.
And then also, I feel like they just don't take like events that happen seriously. In my school district, there was an incident that happened, and the kids got a week off of school, and I just feel like that wasn't enough for what they saw. And then something happened while I was still in school here in my hometown to a school. There was another incident, and they had to go back the next day.
You're talking about Lamar?
Yep, they had to go back the next day.
I did not know that.
That's actually why are we not prioritizing the students' help? Like, they just
witnessed that.
Can we
like something traumatic?
And you want them to go back the next day?
When I was in middle school, I think I was like 8th grade. The high school that I went to, there was a bomb threat, and those kids had to literally sit there. Like, it was called in at like 9 a.m. until 9 o'clock at night. They were sitting there for like 12 hours, like half a day. They couldn't.
Why were they in the school?
Because they like locked them down in the school so they could search everything. Like, they had to search. And they were going like classroom by classroom.
That's not what they supposed to do.
The only reason they did that is because it was like called into like the locker rooms. Like, they said it was in like the pipes in the locker rooms or whatever, which was separate from like the rest of the school. So they kept them there, and they went room by room, had the dogs like sniffed everybody. But like, can you imagine how traumatic? They had to pee in the sinks and go to the bathroom in the trash cans. Like, that is so traumatic. And then like they can't. I mean, even kids in the middle school, like, they have older siblings. Like, they don't know what's going on. They can't. We couldn't even walk towards like that, like down the street that direction. Like,
and then those kids have to sit weird there to me, because usually when people call in threats, it's so that they can get a day off of school, because they're not supposed to let them in. They can't be in the school when that happens.
But school already started, so everybody was already there.
Supposed to leave.
I know, but like they couldn't. They didn't want to just like let everybody like out, and then like chaos and like all that. So they literally had to.
So what happens if it wasn't a threat and it was for real?
I have no idea.
And all them kids are just.
I don't even know how like that works for real. But they literally like. But I'm just like, could you imagine how traumatic that is? And then these kids had to go back to school like literally the next week. I know so many people that are still like to this day like affected by that, and they didn't like, their parents literally wouldn't let them go back to school for like a week. They were trying to make them go back the next day. I was like, that is like unacceptable. Like, schools just don't care enough, and they disregard what people have going on, I feel like.
Yeah, for me it's just like, I feel like if you see like, especially the kids who was like in the classrooms when like, you know, stuff happened, I don't understand why they have to go back to school that year.
Right.
I don't.
Right. I
mean, can you imagine seeing your classmates like that?
Right. And that's like even at college, the college that.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of people just didn't go back to that school.
Right. But they left. But a lot of those students were involved in the high school that happened in the same city. Twice? I'm done. I'm dropping out of school. Like, what? Like, if I have to see that twice, there's no.
And that opens up a whole nother conversation for.
Right. That's a whole other. But I just feel like it's not only just the schools, but it's also professors and teachers. They don't care. Like, I mean, you could be going through something and they're not going to help.
That assignment better be submitted by 11:59.
I had 2 friends pass away in the last year, and like, it still affects you to this day. Like, you still struggle. Like, people don't understand. Like, it's not just like, oh, you're struggling for a week and then you're okay. No, like, it hits you at random times. Like, and if you miss an assignment or something, like, and then you tell your teacher, like, oh, like, I was going through, like, I couldn't get out of bed, like this and that. They don't care.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing. But that's like, I don't even know if we can blame the teachers for that, because it's like, that's just when you get into the the world, nobody cares. So but I don't even think. I know, but I'm just saying, I don't think we can even blame. But they just don't even. They just don't even have like compassion though.
Like, but my thing is like, if you have a student that goes to your class every day, doesn't like comes in on time every day, doesn't miss a class, always turns in their work on time, and then like all of a sudden you notice like, oh, there's a difference. and you're just like, you just don't even care. Like, you don't ask them if they're okay. You don't like ask them if they need an extension or something like that. Like, I understand, like, yeah, you need, like, you have to do your job, but there is some room for compassion.
Oh, compassion is fine. I'm just saying, as far as submitting
but that stuff just like does not. But that's the thing, is like, you know, assignments can be submitted late because people do it already, and then teachers will be like, oh, just come to me at the end of the semester and like we'll talk about it. Like, we'll talk about making up assignments. So it's like, if you can do that, then why can't you give a student who missed your class because they're going through something compassionate? And then teachers will be the first ones to be like, oh, I'm going through something, no class. Oh, I'm going through something, like, I'm sorry I was late on this. But then the student does it, and
I feel like that hasn't been my experience, just because all the teachers I've ever had, as long as I was consistent during the school year, if they saw a change, they wouldn't say anything to me, but I would notice, like, oh, that late grade, they didn't count it late. You know, so I can't say that was my experience.
I think it's really different for everybody.
Yeah, it just depends, like, on the teachers you have, the professors you have, stuff like that. Like, all my professors last semester, yes. Don't want to speak too much on that since I still go here, but yeah, it just depends.
And then it's like, I just feel like the amount of stress and anxiety that people go through in school, especially college students,
it's ridiculous.
It's just crazy. But like, it just is getting pushed back, like younger and younger and younger. Like, I mean, I know middle schoolers who were like dying of elementary students who are dying of stress. That is not okay.
My sister, yeah, we were talking about that. I was like,
what, 6th grade?
She's worried about getting into.
She should not be
worried about her GPA and stuff. And I'm just like, I didn't know what a GPA was at that age.
I didn't have real homework till 8th grade.
I didn't know what a college acceptance letter was. I was worried about going to play on the playground, and that was it. I didn't
Recess
care about
was the highlight of my day.
And lunch.
Recess and lunch is all I cared about. That's all I cared about.
Right. Like, I wasn't worried about. So I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely going back.
It's younger.
And then I just feel like there's no reason that people should be losing so much sleep over or waking up in the middle of the night panic.
I'm a firm believer, if it's not done by 12, it's not getting done.
Yeah. But I feel like a lot of people aren't like that. They can't sleep. They cannot sleep knowing that it's not done.
I am the last person to stress about something. If I will get my sleep. One thing about me, I will get my sleep.
I'm not that way. I will wake up in the middle of the night panic just thinking about, like, did I get that question wrong? Like, that's not normal, and that's not okay.
I mean, I care, but not that much.
It's not even that I care. It's just like a stress thing. It just stresses you out to think about those things. And also, like, I feel like we're different in the sense because, like, I have to have things done, like, so far in advance because I get so like anxious when it comes to getting things done that I have to do them like months, weeks in advance. Whereas you can do it the day before and you're fine. Yeah. And we both will get the same, like, it's like the same grade. We both get the same grade, but I couldn't do that.
I'm such a procrastinator. Yeah. It's like, I do my best work if I'm like, because I feel like I can't focus if I'm not like if I don't have to do it. Like yesterday I was doing homework. I don't have anything due till like halfway through next week. And I'm just like, oh, let me just try to, get ahead a little bit. It took me hours. And I was like, this shouldn't be taking me hours. But if it was the day before, I'd be on it. I'd be on it quick. So it's like, I don't know. It's just something about that. But the stress that is being induced on kids and young kids at this point is just crazy. And then people just like,
now leads into anxiety.
Yeah, they just push past it.
High levels of anxiety getting younger and younger.
Right. Which only leads to depression. Like that's literally what it is. You have these kids stressing about stuff they don't need to be stressing about. It's that's just how it is at this point. And that's so unbelievable to me. So
yeah.
I can't. But yeah. I think that is the end of the conversation for today. I'm not gonna get too deep into it. But come back next Friday. Mental health part 2. Yeah, we're going to be talking about athletes and sports mental health and how that affects it. So we'll see y'all next Friday.
Bye.